You know, when I uploaded episode 1, I had no idea it was going to be as popular as it is, and I am blown away. Thank you so much for showing so much interest in a project that I know absolutely nothing about. Welcome back to the Skill Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. This is No-Prep Drag Racing episode 2. Today we're going to take a look at the electronics and a few things I did to further set up this platform. If you're not familiar with No-Prep Drag Racing, I suggest you watch episode 1, which is going to be right there. It's an excellent primer and it gives you a lot of great details about this whole new thing that, well, new to me anyway, of No-Prep Drag Racing. It's a really interesting concept. I love taking an existing platform. I love reducing and reusing, and this is a great opportunity for me to use my Team Associated DB10 reflex, which was previously used in Monthly Mayhem. This has been proving to be a really educational experience for me. I'm learning so much about how to set up these cars, how to take existing stuff and make it work, and also getting my 3D print on. And you know I love getting that thing going. Let's get right into it. For this episode, I wanted to get my electronics installed, and I'm going to stick with the stock servo that was provided in the DB10 Reflex. Steering is important, of course, in drag racing, but I don't need a ton of steering torque or power, so the RTR servo with the servo saver on there I think is going to be just fine. And having a servo saver on there is definitely going to aid in the longevity of that servo. The ESC is the Spectrum Firma 130 amp ESC, and this is 2S to 4S LiPo compatible, brushless ESC, but non-censored. And because it's using Spectrum's new smart technology, it has a ton of analytics built in and telemetry, so you will be able to see all of the data that this ESC generates on your DX5C or your Spectrum compatible radio. And if you're interested in that video, you want to learn all about that stuff, that's going to be right there as well. So you can check that out at your leisure. Because No-Prep Drag Racing has a strict 2S 7.4 or 8.4 volt LiPo maximum, I am going to be running a 2S 7.4 volt 50C 5000 milliamp smart battery. This is also from Spectrum. It plays really nicely with the Spectrum Firma ESC, and I will also be able to get all that telemetry data on the transmitter. It's a really great system, and because this is all about consistency, I want to be able to see those numbers, and I want to be able to try to duplicate things as I go down the track. You'll notice the way in which this car is laid out, the battery goes right down the middle and towards the rear, which is fantastic for weight distribution. You want to try to have more weight over the rear tires because that's where all your traction is coming from in a two-wheel drive car. So having that battery back there is definitely going to help aid in traction, and that's a great place to put it. Also, to help kind of reduce the amount of weight left and right, I wanted to try to have as much weight right down the center of the car. So I've hard mounted the ESC right in front of the battery. It's all in an effort to keep that weight centrally located right down the middle of the car, and this is about as central as I can get. It seemed to be the best place for it. Luckily, the Spectrum ESCs all have these hard mounting points on them, so it made it really easy to drill into the chassis and put it in that spot. Lastly, on the electronic side of things, I talked to my friend Ty Campbell at Tekin Racing and asked him if he had any sensorless, brushless motors that he thought might be good for this application. They're both Redline Gen 1s. These are old motors. This is a 4.5 turn, and this is a 3.5 turn. These are hot motors. They're pretty fast, and on 2S they should be way more than enough power. I'm going to start with the 4.5 turn because I don't want to, smash this into a curb on the first run. Maybe the second one though. And because they're brushless and non-censored, they'll play really well with that Firma ESC. It'll be a long time before I start doing any actual driving because there's like 10 inches of snow out there and more on the way. But I did want to get these installed ASAP and start having everything set up and ready to go, so when the snow does melt, I can just hit that no-prep track. One other thing that I did get accomplished is I did print out the wheelie bar, and I made this myself quick design in Fusion 360, added some bearings on the end as those are a nice way to have this thing roll along. I thought 2 bearings would be nice. I also used a standard axial machined aluminum link which mounted nicely into the back of the motor plate, and drilled a hole on the actual wheelie bar, and keeps everything nice and firm. I think there's a bit of flex there, which is good. I don't think you want it too firm, so it's nice to have a bit of flex built into it, and it sits at just the right height with all the weight of the body and the motor and the electronics installed. So I think it's actually going to be kind of a winner. I don't expect it to hold up over the long term. This was a first generation design, and we'll see how it holds up, and if it doesn't, we'll redesign it. I also changed out the springs on the rear shocks. I did want to get a bit more drop overall on the chassis. Now I find that it's sitting at a pretty decent height. I'm sure there's a lot more that I could do to the suspension in order to really tweak it, but that's going to require actually driving the car and seeing how it actually reacts. And doing that on the bench isn't going to do much good. So we're going to leave it as is for now. The ride height is nice with the body on and the battery in and the electronics installed. So we're going to see how it goes eventually in this sort of baseline setup. And I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'll also definitely have to go back in and adjust the camber now that I've got the ride height set. I want to make sure that I'm getting as big a contact patch as possible on these rear tires. I do want to firm up that diff oil. I want to make sure I'm getting as limited slip as possible between those 2 tires to try to evenly disperse that power. Other than that, we just have to paint up the body, and I'm still trying to decide. You guys gave me some great ideas on what I should do with that body. There's still a lot of snow on the ground, so I've got a lot of time to figure out that final paint scheme. I've got some good ideas rattling around up there, and I hope that actually you have more for me. So by all means, post your ideas down below. You know I love to read through all your feedback, and I try to answer as many of them as I can. Are you building a no-prep drag car? There's a lot of options out there for what platform you can start with. Why don't you tell me what you're using down below? And if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. A lot more to come on the no-prep drag car. I think I'm making some pretty decent progress, and I hope that you'll follow along with me as I continue through this journey, learning everything I can about no-prep drag cars. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again soon.